Well, good afternoon, staff. I wanted to take advantage of this time while I wait to get ready for jury duty. Woo! To kind of share some of the things that we were going to meet about at staff meeting this afternoon. I'm not 100% sure I'm going to make it, so I thought I would try flipping things, sending some information out, and that way you get all the information that we were going to discuss this afternoon, but can kind of watch it at your own leisure and give you back some of your time this afternoon. So I know there's several things that I've got on my list. The two big ones are going to be the PikMyKid. I know there's been lots of questions, and the biggest thing I'd say about that is be patient. I've got a couple of things I'm going to add to this to share with you guys. Then also tomorrow we're going to be sending home some information for our activity fundraiser. It's Snap Raise. And we've got some information to give you from the office, and I'll get to that here in a little bit, just to let you guys know a little bit more about what it is. Really, the biggest responsibility you guys will have is getting the information out to parents and then collecting and inputting the emails. Yes, it might be a little, quite a few emails. But at the same time, too, essentially, we're not selling anything. It's to leverage everybody's network of people they know to raise money for our field trips, t-shirts, parties, things like that. So this is the fundraiser that is replacing the fall festival. So, really would like for us to really push this hard, get as much participation as we can to ensure that we have the necessary funds in order to do all the activities that we do with our grade levels. And, we're going to push that out to parents as well. So again, I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself right now, so I will share some of that later. Right now, just a couple of housekeeping things. We've got homework. I know that there's been a little bit of a misconception about homework, but if you keep in mind, homework is acceptable. It is allowable. The only thing that you can't do is you can't grade it, put it in the grade book. So we had this discussion at the leadership meeting last week. The big thing about homework is that if it goes home and comes back, we don't know if that's the kids' work or if it is the parents' work. The other thing too is you need to make sure that it is something that they can do for practicing their things that they already know to reinforce that. So, what I told leadership last week was if you guys as teams, make sure when you send home the expectations of parents so they know when you're sending home homework what those expectations are. Again, just basic skills, things that they can do on their own, not taken for a grade. On our end as a campus, we're going to make sure that we advertise to parents that, hey, they may not be graded on homework, but it is going to impact their grade if they're not doing it. So, reading logs, that's homework. Math fact practice, that's homework. A writing log, that's, those types of things are practice. And basically any kind of practice, just like in sports, any kind of practice that we can do to make the students better, that can be considered homework. So I know that we shared, again, with leadership last week, an example that third grade did and put together. So if you want to use that as your guideline for homework, that would be great. Obviously, homework at fifth grade looks different than kindergarten. So also keep that in mind as well. And also keep in mind the age. If parents are coming back saying that they've got hours and hours of homework, just let them know that that shouldn't be the case. Either something's been sent home that their child is struggling with, they've got the wrong impression, whatever that might be. Just being in communication with the parents. Okay, so we had our lockdown drill, and overall we did very well. There are a couple of things. We had a kindergartner and a second grader using the restroom, which is going to happen, and then also caught us a little off because when we have students outside, in this case it was PE, but for recess and things like that too. So revisit your procedures and expectations with the kiddos. Remind them when they're in the restrooms to go ahead and, if they can, get to a staff restroom or to hide in the restroom, someplace where they're out of sight. even if it's not lockable, at least by maybe being out of sight and up on the seat or something like that. Any potential threat is just going to pass on by. So if they are outside and it is a drill, they do want us to go inside to our safe area. But keep in mind that if it were the real thing, that may change based off of actual evidence. And I know that the officers kind of spoke with me a little bit about that and said that if it was the real deal, there would be a lot more information provided, and that we would go based off the information. So, but as far as drills go, bring them inside, go to your spots. And again, it's been about through our first 9-week period, so this is probably a good time to review again with students what the expectation is for a lockdown drill. Oh, and almost forgot, core team. So we've had some interesting behaviors the last couple of weeks, and so we are trying to solidify the kind of the cues and the calls for when admin should be called, if it's necessary for the core team to be called. So I know Julia's hammering that stuff out, so we'll be communicating that out to you all here shortly. As of right now, though, nothing has changed, and those members on the core team are going to be notified, and we'll be doing some practicing. And again, we'll be sending out some keywords that you might hear on the overhead or over the walkie, so that way we can respond appropriately. All right, so next I wanted to talk briefly about documentation, especially for our special education students. And really this applies to RTI 504 and whatnot as well. If we're trying to collect data on a student just to determine behaviors or areas of growth or skills that need to be targeted as part of their IEP or their 504 plan, please make sure that you're writing those down and somewhere. We can't go to ARD, we can't go to a 504 meeting and provide anecdotal evidence. We really need to have those things written down, especially if a parent shows up with an advocate, they're going to want to see the paper trail. So again, make sure you're working with your SPED case manager, whether it's Tara or Melissa or Shelly or Kaylin. Work with them. They're there to support. They're there to ask any questions. You can always come to me or Julie or Gail as well. Utilize our SPED folks over at admin. But again, just make sure that you're keeping that documentation, because you just never know. We might be called for it. But also too, when we go back and we look at the data over time, often, just like with MAP, it will point us to areas that we need to address that, when we go from one day to the next, we won't necessarily remember, but if we can see it in paper form or documented somewhere, we can look back and detect a pattern. So just please, again, make sure that we're keeping up with that documentation. All right, and so now we're going to talk a little bit about the snap raise piece. Again, this fundraiser is what is replacing the money that goes to the activity accounts for all the grade levels that we used to get from doing Fall Festival. Last year we were able to take a break from that, but we want to make sure that everybody has the money necessary to be able to do the fundraising things that they want to do. I know that we've been able to add a little bit thanks to Stuco, but again, we want to make sure that the parties, the field trips, t-shirts, all those things are still opportunities available for all grade levels. And so we're going to we're going to try out the Snap Fundraise. I actually got this information from Amy Brown. She shared with me that last year the AHS band actually did it, and we're quite successful with it. And it really doesn't require too much on our part, or really even on the kids' part. Like I alluded to earlier, it really just is kind of leveraging people's networks and who they know, and who would be willing to give to allow their students to be able to do the activities that they'd like to do. So again, this money goes to the grade level activity accounts, which follows the kiddos year to year. And so what we'll be sending out tomorrow, should be in your mailboxes, is going to be the 20 email sheets. And then also I'll send out via email kind of the kickoff script as well to go with to read to the kids and to share with parents. Really, because we're not a athletic group, which is typically what STAP fundraising targets as far as their fundraisers go. We got the elementary kids. It's fifth grade. You might be able to unleash them, but obviously kindergartners are not going to go around and be able to collect the good emails that are required for this. So we want this to be, we want to try to be as less involved as the Fall Festival was, but also a good chance for success. We're going to kind of drive this like we would box tops. We'll get some information out to parents. We'll get information out during announcements. We'll have class competitions and have some incentives for kiddos that hit their marks for classes that do the best, and then perhaps also for the class that does the best overall as far as getting everybody to participate, but then also donations wise as well. So again, be on the lookout in your mailboxes for the paper copies of the email sheets, and then I'll be emailing out the script for the kickoff for you to share with your parents and also with your kiddos. And also we're going to try to shoot a quick promotional video to let parents know exactly what the money is going to. I know sometimes, especially on the heels of the PTA fundraiser, parents are like, why are we doing this again? But again, this is not going to PTA. As great as PTA is in supporting us, this money is going straight to the students' activity funds for grade levels to be able to use for parties and things. So hope that helps.
All right. So staff, here we are with the PikMyKid dashboard, and yours is probably going to look a little bit different since mine is from an administrative viewpoint. So it's got a lot of additional stuff for the campus that you may not have. Yours should show stuff specific to your class. But what we're going to be focusing on for this brief little bit is going to be dispatcher mode. So if you click on dispatcher, it will bring you to this screen. So for example, right now we're practicing with our walkers. So we'll choose walker and then your list of students. Now this has all grade levels. You will probably be seeing just your grade. So let's take a look at, for example, just kindergarten. And so, for example, you will see student names here. And like say, for example, we are going to dismiss Mr. Ashley here. Then you've got him. He's leaving your room, getting into line. You go ahead and click on dismiss. So we know that he has been dismissed to the teacher taking him down to the gym, or eventually we'd like to maybe even attempt it to where we can get it where they're dismissed from the room directly to where they need to go. So if you go back to change pickup mode and say you need to get so we can do Walker, YMCA is going to be under Walker. So there you go. There's your YMCA kids. Change to go to after school, and this will be your mud pies and lullabies. And then again, you will probably, or you should only see your kids. And then again, as you dismiss them, you click dismiss, and that will send the kids into the dismissed line or dismissed status.
All right. So what you're going to see here is the car line screen. And this is what we're going to move to when we go live with parents for next week. So I know a lot of questions have been kind of going around. Well, what if they don't have an app? Well, that's why we've got the announced section here to the right-hand side. And that's why parents still need to have their student numbers for those times when they don't have their phone or they have somebody pick up that doesn't have a phone. So they can't announce themselves, but essentially what's going to happen, and unfortunately I can't show it to you here because we're not actually getting check-ins and stuff yet, but you can enter in a student's name, or excuse me, a number in this section here, and what that will do is it will move that student into the waiting line or next line. And essentially what this is going to serve as is it's going to serve as our current walkie-talkie person. And ideally, we'd like to be able to move back from that. We'll have somebody that can check cars in using their iPad
Chromebook or whatever. And then essentially you'll have your first wave of kids. They get into the line slots here. The next wave of kids are on standby, ready to go. As soon as these are dismissed from the active line, then we send the kiddos in the next line out, go to their cars, and it just should move quicker. So again, I know it's hard to visualize this without seeing it in action. But again, just think of it this way. Right now, we're just kind of changing the way we record how our kids get from point A to point B. We're not making any other changes as far as dismissing from the classrooms and things like that. If we move to that, that will come at a later time. Right now, we just want to make sure that what we're doing as far as tracking the kids is working. Once we get that worked out and the kinks worked out and we see that it's working smoothly, then we will start talking about next steps. So again, right now, with Carline, with Walker, with checking your kids out, things like that, we are using the app to track, or excuse me, the dashboard and things to track the students. And that way, we should be able to keep track of where everybody's going. So also the thing too, this should help, since we won't need to, if we go to this, we won't need the walkie-talkies. So we'll have some kind of, at least while we're still missing from the cafeteria, some kind of visual board to where students can see when their numbers are put into the queue. That means they can hop on up. And again, we won't have to have the microphone or the walkie-talkie calling over, but they can see their numbers pop up and then get into the line to go outside and be dismissed.
Well, I hope you guys were able to gain some time back. I wanted to meet with everybody in person, but civic duty called. So hopefully this flip method of delivery is more convenient. Again, if you guys have any questions about what I spoke about through all this, you can go ahead and provide that via Flipgrid. I'll have that link available to you when I get this posted. And just, again, wanted to say thank you to everybody. To say that you guys are the best staff ever, I know it's very cliche, but you guys are an amazing staff. And I'm very proud and very blessed to be the principal of Ratton Elementary and to be able to work along with you, lead you, but also serve you as we serve all of our students. So, from my perspective, I get to see all the moving pieces working together, and we really have an awesome staff that works together to support each other and is willing to roll their sleeves and do whatever it takes to make sure that our kiddos are taken care of. So I just want to say thank you so very much. Thank you for listening to me babble on a little bit here on the video. And again, I know there's a lot of moving parts here lately. I certainly feel that way. But ultimately, step back, take a look at the big picture, and there's going to be some great things happening because of some of the steps that we put in place here at the start of school. So enjoy the rest of this rainy day. Hopefully, we'll have a little bit of sunshine tomorrow. And again, thanks for watching. And again, I appreciate every one of y'all. Thank you very much.